Yep.
Yes? Okay.
Yeah.
So, I've been asked a few questions after our last video, which was very appreciated by a lot of you. So, to reply to one of those questions, I'm putting on gloves just to pretend. Because it's a classic. Fake setup, there's no needle. Question was, how do you stretch the skin around the chest area, collarbone, especially on a large-breasted woman? So, there's a few factors. First of all, this skin, especially around the collarbone, always tricky as fuck all, because it's very thin and brittle. So first of all, I always suggest if you're working near the bone, try to move it away from the bone and try to always stretch. There's this classical thing, the two-hand stretch, where you use a couple of fingers here and this here, and then the back of this hand here to stretch out the skin. The more stretch you got, the better it is. Don't choke your client at the same time, because that's what I just did, which is impolite. But be aware, this is really brittle skin. So when I'm doing line work on skin up here, I always up my needle size. If I think I'm supposed to use a 7, I switch to a 9. If I think it's a 9, I switch to an 11. Simply to have more needles touching the skin and less chance of going too hard in and doing blowouts in the skin, because that area is it's very prone for that to happen. I also try to move very gently, and normally I work at like this much of an angle to the skin. In this case, I would switch it up a little bit, so again, more contact with the flat front of the needles, and I would almost always do the lines first from one side and then from the other side. I almost always double line because it gives better lines. The issue of large cleavage in the way, first of all, ask your client to take off their bra, because if that's pushing skin upwards, so this is compressed up, you're just getting more trouble than it's worth. This might be uncomfortable for the client, so if you've had consultations with your client before and you know up front, ask them to wear something appropriate, like a tube top or sports bra or something like that can help support, while at the same time keeping the canvas out of the way. I don't know how to speak about this politely, because English is not my first language and it's clearly a handicap here. Ask your client to help and do this. That little movement here helps pull up the skin, and you will have a much easier time stretching out everything here. And if you need to, work from behind the client so that you're standing behind them. I know it's weird breathing into people's ear and shit like that. They can put on headphones, it's fine. But this gives you a different access than if you're trying to work from here, or if the client is lying down. Still, that this whole thing with your arms on top of their breasts and stuff like that, it gets weird. Not like, it doesn't have to be like uncomfortably weird, but it is literally something that can be in the way of doing your work properly. So communicate with your client, be open and honest about it. More about that in the next video. Thank you for listening.